All right. So I found a lot of reference in the last video. I moved it all into my reference folder for assignment 1, which is in my master folder for the class, which lives in documents, but I pull it out for the class time. And now looking at those reference images, even though I made these digital sketches at the end of last class, right, just really kind of basic foreground, middle ground, background approaches, when I actually look at my reference images and I see the ones that I might be kind of surprised by, like this one that I really like, that will influence my sketching. So I'm going to turn on the camera here, even though it's reversed, and you'll see the sketch that I made on the whiteboard. And this is just a photo. So I took a photo with my camera. Now this is an Android phone. It's a very old 2010 Android phone. So it's pretty basic, but what I can do is I can put it into my Google Photos, because my phone is actually too old to support the Canvas app well. So instead of uploading it into Canvas, I'm going to put it into, I turn on my camera app, go to my photos, and you're going to have to learn how to do this for whatever way you're going to take pictures of your sketches. And I go to all my photos, right, and I see it there. And then I have to find my share settings for it. Share settings look like that. And I can also email it to myself. I can message it to myself. But the easiest way I have found for me is to go to More Options. And to upload it to Photos. iPhones have a similar thing where you can upload it to your photos in the cloud and then access that from your computer and then download them. So I get the upload to Photos and I say, yes, upload. And it is done on the phone. Now I go to the computer. And on my computer, I am logged into my Google account, my crazy calendar. Oh my gosh, so stress-inducing. I'll open up my photos and there it is, voila. And I take those photos and now I can download them to my computer, which is nice because it's also backed up in the cloud, right? So if I ever need to get my sketch back, I just go to Google Photos to get it. But now I've just downloaded a copy to my computer, so I can go to ACES and log in and get into the class and go to where I posted my theme in assignment 1 and edit this. And now I'm going to put the sketch in because that's the first requirement. So where did my downloads from Google Photos go? It went to Downloads. I'm going to move that first to the desktop, and then I'm going to move it into my assignment 1 folder. Before I upload it, because I want to look at it, I can clean it up a little bit if I want to, but it looks pretty good, so I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to adjust it. So I'm just going to upload it. Now this has multiple, it has a horizontal version and a vertical version. The next step is I have to pick which one am I most interested in pursuing. And I can give you tips on this, or do I want to draw another version, right? Because you can do as many thumbnails as you want. If I'm taking a project seriously, the magic number of thumbnail sketches, which takes about 10 minutes at the beginning of any project, is 5. The first thumbnail I do is easy because it's what I think I should immediately do for whatever that problem is, whatever that creative problem is. And I think that's the best solution. But then I force myself to do another thumbnail. And that one never really works out too well. But then I do a third one, and the third one's always the best, right? And then I do another 2 to convince myself that the third one was the best. And that's kind of how it always works. So 5 is the magic number. But more than one is always useful, because more than one is trying to figure out the problem from different points of view. And in this case, of these 2, I like the second one. Because when I think of Olympus, I think of height, right? So a vertical format is going to focus me on the vertical height instead of a standard horizontal format landscape. So now what do? We use PhotoP in this course section, our freeware clone of Photoshop. And it's amazing because PhotoP remembered exactly where I left off. Instead of pursuing these old projects, right? I'm going to close those because I've already saved those in the right folders. I'm going to get to the PhotoP home screen, and what I'm going to load in is my sketch, whether it has multiple sketches on it or not. And you don't need to upload into Canvas every single sketch. You just need to upload at least one image that shows the sketch that's most helpful. All right. Now, if I want to do the horizontal, I would crop around the horizontal one. If I want to do the vertical, I'm going to crop around the vertical one. We have not cropped before. Cropping is dangerous in raster programs, but sometimes necessary. Cropping, just like cropping like a boyfriend out of a photo, right? When they become an ex, means you are getting rid of information and not able to retrieve it. So before we use the crop tool, which is this tool right here, we are going to use the guides, and we are going to set where we want to crop it to. To use the guides most safely, we're going to use the move tool, which we've had a lot of experience doing. And we're going to use the rulers. And if you don't see the rulers, which are based in pixels, you are going to hit Command R on your Mac. Control R on your PC. Then you'll see the rulers. Once you have the rulers, click on the numbers of the ruler and drag down, and you get what's called a guide. And I want you to set those guides on the top and bottom of the sketch you want to use. So top and bottom of my vertical sketch here. And even though I didn't draw a perfect rectangle, that's fine. This is going to give me a perfect rectangle as I put guides around it. And in general, it's good to go a little bit outside of your sketch. So do you see how I use the guides to frame it? Now I can use the crop tool with confidence and move those corners, and they'll stick to the guides. So it will snap right into place. And then I hit return. Now in Photoshop, that would mean that all that information that I just got rid of is gone. Gone. Right? In PhotoP, for whatever reason, because it takes up memory, it's not really gone. And if I now uncrop it, or if I crop it to a different size, like I use the crop tool, and I crop it to, say, this size, it remembers that there was content there, and it puts it back. You see? That's kind of important because we're going to learn how to work with it. But the important reason to crop it is so that our pixel dimensions are matching the vision of the landscape we have. And now, just like we've done with our first two exercises, we go to image size because we need to make this a printable pixel dimension, which is at least 8 by 10 by at least 300 pixels per inch. So I go to image size in PhotoP. I change pixels here to inches. And my phone is old, but it's not so old that at 72 pixels per inch, which is screen resolution, this image is still pretty big. It's 13 by 19 inches. So 13 by 19 inches, I want to make closer to 8 by 10, maybe around 11 by 14. So I'm going to make this 13 into an 11. And because that is locked, you want that padlock to keep the aspect ratio. When I click on the gray, it's going to automatically change that 19 to something that preserves that rectangle. So now it's 11 by 15 inches. That's larger than 8 by 10. That sounds good. You don't want anything that's smaller than 8, right? By anything that's smaller than 10. But for pixels per inch, I need to change this up to 300 because that's the minimum print resolution. And that changes it from being only 1.3 megapixels, or changes it up to be 1.34 megapixels. So when I hit OK, it's thinking. And then I go to image size again just to make sure it worked. Now it's 15 megapixels. So I made it from 1.3 up to 15. So I grew it like 1,000%. It doesn't matter though, because when a computer grows information, it just makes up pixels that match what's already there. And so what that does for my sketch is it just makes everything look blurry. But this is my guideline sketch. But the beauty is, because I found images that were big enough, when I bring something in, like this foreground one, drag and drop, it will come in at its native resolution, which means these are its real pixels that I'm seeing right now as it comes in. Really sharp and nice, right? Except that the photo is a tiny bit blurrier than I want, but very clean, very good detail. So this pixel dimension is what I'll want for my end composite. But it's not very useful to put a lot of images in, like this, and then like this, and then try to arrange them around and scale them on each other, like we've been doing with compositing. Because I have to fit them within that aspect ratio. And I keep accidentally using the crop tool, and it's really frustrating. So instead, I want you to think of this like doing a collage traditionally, right? What I would do is I would make my sketch for what I envisioned, and then I would tear out all my magazine pages. These are all my magazine pages that I think there's good content I can use. But I'm not working within like a shoebox that's the size of my finished collage. Instead, I put it on a desk, like a drafting table. I have a nice tilted drafting table. I tape it into the center, and then I would put my magazine pages around it. So the next thing I'm going to do, once I'm sure that this is printable, once I've cropped down to my preferred sketch, it's larger than 8 by 10, it's at 300 pixels per inch. Now I'm going to grow the canvas size around it to give me a working space. And the canvas size, I go to image canvas size, in inches, not pixels. I'm going to teach you a standard size, which is the largest printable piece of paper for a professional 4-color offset lithography press, which is how most printed matter is reproduced. Posters, textbooks, postcards. It's all printed on sheets that are 30 by 40 inches. So it's a good standard dimension to know, and at a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. So the width is going to be 30. The height is going to be 40. If you're doing a horizontal format, you're going to want to do 40 for the width and 30 for the height. And it's going to grow from the center. Now, when I hit OK, remember what Photopea does. It's why we use the guides. It remembers that I had other input in that camera photo. But now I'm going to practice what I've learned, and I'm going to select with the rectangular marquee, which is right underneath the move tool, and I'm going to let that stick to my guides. And then I am going to hit Command J to duplicate. This is how we cut things out. This is how we'll cut things out of our magazine pages. We select it, and then we hit Command J, and what that does is duplicate it onto a new layer. And then what do you do when you cut something out of a magazine? What do you do with the part of the magazine that you don't need anymore? You throw it away. So we're going to delete where we got that cutout from, which is the smart object. That does two things at once. It selects what we want, it duplicates it onto a new layer, and it rasterizes it, which means we can change the color, we can erase from it, we can edit it and use it as our own. And because we set our pixel dimensions where we want, we know that's the right size. Okay, now we're going to do another thing, which is make a new layer, a new blank layer to put behind our piece of paper. We're going to create our desk surface. The new layer is like a Post-it. And we can also go to layer, new layer. It just takes a little bit longer. And now we're going to do this command, which we're going to do a lot in the class, when we want to fill a selection or a layer, with a solid